Welcome to the Jamodi podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. Daily vitamins, you kind of hear this term now with training, but I just think just like you and I, you're way younger than me, but trying to stay active, we got to eat right. We have to take vitamins every day. We have to do these things. What would you say the daily habits or vitamins for a shooter needs to be?
It's all going to be unique to the individual, obviously. But I think the habits, the biggest thing that I see that I come across with players is we establish what needs to be worked on, right? We establish, okay, is this, let's just say for an example, is this a connection issue? Is that ball being treated like it's not a part of your body? And because it's not, we're seeing, the inability to transfer energy efficiently, or that ball's taking multiple direction changes, right? Let's just say it's a connection issue. We can say, okay, well, our daily vitamins for these connection issues are going to be all connection related, quote unquote, drills. Okay. I don't care how many drills I give you. It does not matter how many drills I give you. What matters is how much dedicated time can you spend to being as deliberate and mindful as possible on what you're doing, right? So to me, it's blocking out a time. It's not blocking out 100 reps, not blocking out, I got to do 10,000 drills today. I'm going to block out 30 minutes in which all I'm going to devote myself to is how focused can I be on connection? How in tune can I be with how this body's now becoming a part of, or this ball's becoming a part of my body, right? And in that, what new connections am I going to start to fire up top here that are going to set me up for a breakthrough later on down the line? And that's so hard to do. I get it. Like, that's such a hard thing to go in the gym and have such a dedicated focus, but it's the only way which things start to connect that didn't connect before. And if you can go in with a deliberate plan, as simple as it can be, I tell players, you could do one drill for the rest of your life and you can get increasingly better if you just know what it is you're doing and what you're focusing on. So, I think to overly simplify it, it's just how deliberate can you be with the time that you carve out for yourself while you're working on shooting. I think that's the big thing.
Man, that's such a great reminder for coaches too. Like, I think I needed to hear that because I get asked about shooting and how our teams shoot and the drills and things we do. And we can just kind of clutter our days or our practice time with, or constantly be searching for the new thing when really, it's not about what you do, it's how you do what you do that really matters. And that's just a great reminder for coaches that feel like they need a new shooting drill. Well, maybe you want to keep it interesting with the guys that you see 187 days of the year so they don't get stale or bored. But maybe you just need to take what you're already doing and refocus, repurpose, reconnect.
Right. And it's one of those things where, like, when I started learning the stuff that I'm now teaching, and a huge, I always tell him all the time, like my guy, Rob Fodor, was a shooting coach for the Heat. Like I'll call him out of the blue and I'll just be like, dude, thank you so much for what I was doing. But I would literally wake up before I was working a 9-to-5 job at the time when I first started doing it. And I would go to the gym before work and I would take one piece of this stuff that I was learning and I would personally do it over and over and over. And it was in doing it, maybe I would do it for a week. And then all of a sudden something clicked in terms of something that Rob told me months ago that now it makes sense. But I had to go through it, and I had to be that deliberate about going through it that I've seen the value in it personally, and being able to kind of push that on to the kids in terms of this mindset. Um, it can be really powerful stuff, man.
I've never heard somebody talk about that. And I'm struggling to remember exactly how you said it, but basically the ball being connected to your body.
Right.
You had like a specific phrase with that.
Yeah. So it's just in terms of connection and period.
Yeah.
So the ball becomes a part of us.
How do you one diagnose that maybe that's a problem, and how do you work that into a player's routine or practice?
So if I'm looking at terms of the connection issue, it's generally going to be how are their hands situated on the basketball. So if I can kind of see the top of their hand before a shot starts, I can automatically tell you how that ball is going to move through their shot. So I know that if that hand starts on top of the shot, that's automatically going to result in their hands loading later at the top of the shot, which means that ball had to travel backwards, right? So already now that ball's traveling backwards before it's going forward.
So you're telling me if that wrist is straight or gooseneck, like you see sometimes, that means on the way up, they're having to move backwards to one. Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Okay.
So I always tell players our target's in front of us, not behind us, right? Let's start to make this and let's start to take away as much variability as possible and start to move this ball up our body in a way that we can keep everything quote unquote going towards the basket. There's going to be slight direct. We're not robots, right?
Mhm.
We're not like those shooting machines from half court, but we can mimic how that ball starts to move. So it starts with how that ball connects to the shooting hand, and then the closer that ball starts to come to our body to a degree, we're now setting ourselves up to actually use our shoulders, how they're intended to be used in terms of how they rotate. But a lot of times you'll see players when they start, their elbows will be extended away, right? And eventually, like we all have to come back to this position, right?
Mhm.
Well, if I start with the ball and my arms actually in this position, well, now I have a collapsing angle at the top. So now that ball has to go backwards before it goes forwards. We have to be more perfect than not to make shots. We're just trying to connect in a way that how can we now make this ball a part of us and how we would create energy vertically by driving that ball up, rotating our shoulder how it's meant to rotate, hand comes under the ball early, and then keeping that ball moving in one direction. And then there's like a bunch of other things that come into play in terms of the sequencing of the mat, like all that kind of stuff. But connection plays such a huge role in that. So make the ball a piece of you and how you create energy best as a person, and things tend to get a bit better for you.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.